Welcome back to FM Jeeping. My name is Mark, and today we're going to be wiring up an in-cab winch controller. Something I've been wanting to do for quite a while is wire up an in-cab winch controller, because to be honest with you, I'm getting tired of having this thing outside the rig, running up my hood or along the fender, underneath the windshield wiper, and kind of bouncing around the cab. So in an effort to not be a complete trail scab, I go ahead and I pre-run my umbilical or my remote for my winch. I usually just, before the run even starts, I pull the winch cover, plug in my remote, and then I usually run my wire up the hood, underneath the windshield wiper, and most times I will pre-run the smaller end through the cage so that way it's not sticking out, and then I'll run it in the cab like so, tuck it under the seat, and then I'll tuck this stuff just out of the way so I'm not tripping on it when I'm getting in and out of the cab. But that's kind of annoying. I don't like having this flopping around. I don't like this just exposed, and I hate having tripping on this thing when I get in and out of the rig. So that's where an in-cab winch control switch will definitely help. Now there's a couple different variations of what I'm about to try, and it all depends on what type of winch you have. Some winches come with a 3-pin setup. The newer, I believe, Warren winches come with a 5-pin setup. Now I've seen a couple different variations on both. I'm going to go ahead and kind of base mine off Matt from Bleepin' Jeeps and how he did his. Now I have a 5-pin setup, so this is like a newer Warren setup, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and base my wiring off of. Second, I need to find where my wiring is. Now some winches come with the box on top, some come to the side, and basically all winches are going to have some type of solenoid compartment, whether it be on the side, top, remote where you can kind of put it behind the grill, under the hood, whatever. Mine's right here. There are 6 bolts on the top half of this winch. There's 3 on each side. There's 2 here and 1 here, and then 2 on this side, 2 under here, and then 1 behind this hookup for the switch. Now what's nice about mine is you just loosen the bottom 2 on each side, and then you remove the top one, and we are exposed to the wiring. In Bleepin' Jeep's video on how to find what wire does what, he does state that Warren might be the same across the board, and based on the video that I saw, it seems to be the case, but we are going to double check that right now. So if you look at this connector, there are 5 actual pins. The other 2 holes are open, so this is a 5-pin system. I'm going to go get my multimeter and plot out what is what. Got my little handy dandy drawing here. I got 6 holes. This one, I know for a fact, is empty. So you can do the next step with a multimeter or a test light. I think I have my test light over here. And I'll show you a quick way how to do both. So I got my multimeter set for DC. I got my black lead on the ground, on the battery. And then basically you just want to go through here and try to find which one's going to trip 12 volts. And it's going to be this one right here, I can tell you. Yep, there you go, 12 volts. The reason I knew that is because I did this beforehand. This also has a ton of corrosion, and this one was the same lead that Bleepin' Jeep pulled on his video. I now know this is my 12 volt. And just to kind of show you, you can do something similar with test light. Same thing, got the ground, and you just keep going until you find your positive. Not the way I totally suggest, but it is possible to do it this way. You can go on the positive, make sure you don't ground it out, and you're going to search which one lights up. And what we're finding is the ground. So it's this one right here. And that is 1, 2, third one up from the notch. So this is main ground. My God, that's awful. I gotta rewrite that. Ground. Right there. And once again, you can do the same thing with the positive lead on the positive side of the battery. Still hooked up to DC. and you go until you find 12 volts. Right there. So behind the scenes, I did cheat. When I originally pinned out this, just to kind of test this for continuity, I was able to pull this out just because that's what happens with my remote. It's old, it's kind of falling apart, and I was able to kind of, for the most part, seat this and pin this out with a test light by cycling through all the functions. But I'm going to show you guys how to do that in case you guys can't break apart your remote control. So we're going to test for in and out as well as relay ground. Now this is going to mirror what's on the winch, because when you plug it in, everything is reversed on the winch because we're looking at it from a different perspective. So on my drawing, if you can imagine, 12 volt is kind of over here to the right of the notch. The notch is here on my switch, notch is here on my drawing, but instead, so I have my notch, my 12 volt and empty. On the switch, notch, 12 volt and empty. So it's opposite sides. So I'm going to go ahead, probe. We're going to find the ins and outs here. So we're going to go ahead and probe the 12 volt, and we're going to watch. Did you just die on me? Okay. All right. So we're going to find the in and out first, because we have only 3 more pins to find, which is in, out, and relay ground. So I have it set to ohm. I have my positive set to what I know is the 12 volt in and out, and I want to find if anything changes, if I cycle it through. So if you can see, I am now going in, and I'm getting off. I'm showing a connection. So if that is correct, oops, sorry. This is the one next to the empty. So this pin here on my switch is actually right here on my diagram. So now I just have to test these two here. Okay, back to 12 volt here. And I have to test, let's test this one next. And all I'm doing is cycling the switch. All right, this is out. So now we know that this is 12 volt, this is empty. This is signal in, this is the main ground, this is signal out. This is going to be our relay, sorry you can't read that, ground. And just to make sure that we get the right colors, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this switch out. Pretty easy, it's only 2 bolts. Okay. Alright, for safety's sake, I went ahead and rewrote this. Hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better, but basically we have the relay ground, the wire is brown. Winch out, it's black. Main ground is red. Winch in is green. This pin is empty. 12 volt is white. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start running some wire. Alright, so what I'm going to like to do is go through this main grommet here on the passenger side. This is where my accessory box is, so I just pulled that up out of the way. I got my wires already tucked through the grommet, and I'm just going to need to undo the glove box so I can get some access to the area behind here so I can pull that wire through. everything wired up for the most part. I have 5 wires coming through the firewall, but there's only about 6 inches of length of 5 wires altogether. I peeled off 2, the power on the ground, to my accessory box, so that can control, that's my safety switch that I have to turn on before my winch switch will engage in the cab. Now I'm left with this little run right here, comes down my firewall, down underneath, up through here, and basically up where the winch wires come through the bumper. And I'm left with 3 wires. The green and the white are my in and out, and my brown is my winch relay ground. So what I'm going to do now is ground this to where my winch relay ground is, which is, there's a little post right here. I'm going to clean this up, put a ring terminal on this, and finalize that. Then I'm going to take the rest of the 2 wires, feed them through this little grommet here, put ring terminals on them, and basically put them where they belong, corresponding with the in and out signal for the winch. So let's do that now. I got 3 wires coming from the cab into the winch, and I have my in and out. I have them both pinned out on my solenoids, and then I also have my relay ground right here. So I can go ahead and close up this box. I should be done here, and the whole front of the winch is good to go. So I got pretty much all the base wiring done under the hood and in the winch. Now we're inside the cab. What I'm going to do is mount the switch right over here on my gear select. The switch comes with this little rubber isolator to keep it from shaking and making noise. I'm taking that off. I'm going to scribe my hole so I can put the switch down in there, and we should be good. Alright, so this is roughly where I want my switch. I'm just going to go ahead and trace it. I use the blue tape as kind of my extremities on how far, one way or the other I can go. So I'm just going to run pretty much right in the center. So after fine tuning, got my hole cut out for my switch, got all my wires run through my switch, and I'm going to go over these one more time. So I have my brown, which is my relay ground for the winch, and my main ground to my switch. Now this is the safety thing. This will keep the winch, like if I get into an issue, I can kill the power to the switch, which is right up here, and the winch will shut off. Now I jumped my 12 volt into 2 connections. I jumped my in, which is my white, to 2 connections, and I jumped my out to 2 connections. This is pin 1, 2, 3, and this is 4, 5, 6, and then up here is 7. The 7, which is on the top, is going to be my ground. So I'm going to have my ground up first on this switch, and there's only one ground for this entire switch. Then I believe it's my green. I'm just going to loosely do this just because I might have to pull this off and check it. Okay, then my 12 volt from my switch Then I'm going to loosely do my out. Okay. Now, let's just test it, make sure it works. So I got to turn on my ignition, turn on my winch switch. It works. Let's check to make sure the directional is right. Alright, so what I'm going to do, put the switch in finalized, bind up the wires nice and smooth, tuck everything in, make everything flush. In case let's just say I'm on the trail or whatever, I'm running around. Oops, I put this on backwards. Alright, switch panel is fully mounted, looks pretty good. I cycled through all my gears. We're going to pretend my engine is running. It will not work until I come up here, turn my switch on, and when I'm done, shut the switch off, and safety. I call this a win. So just a real quick recap in case I might have missed something in the video of all this. Now, I started off with 5 wires. I took apart my interior. I found out where I wanted to run my switch, which is right here. So I started my wiring harness right here. I ran it up through the dash, took the glove box down and ran it across there. So right here underneath this box on the passenger side is a big grommet. I cut a little slit. I ran the 5 wires through here. I took the 2 wires, which are my red, which is the positive, and the black, which is my ground, and I grounded them into my accessory box. Kind of see it right like this. I think I have them under the 10 amp. I believe it's the 10 amp right here, which leaves me with 3 wires, which I ran through the engine bay. All right, so once I get the wire all through the engine bay, up underneath the bumper, through the bumper back here where the winch wires come through, I put some nice loom on there so it kind of hides them a little bit. And then I ran through the main wire grommet here on my winch. And then I had 3 wires I had to find homes for. This one right here is my relay ground. And then my green, which is right here, that is my 12 volt in. So when I want to bring the winch in, that's ground, or that's green, sorry. And then my white wire that I ran from the inside of the cab goes right here. That is my out. So if you look, if I pull it back enough, the white goes to that one and the green goes to that one. Now, that's pretty much all set. I can go ahead, put my cover on my winch, and I now have an in-box winch controller. So the other good thing about the way I wired this is that, let's just say for whatever reason I can't use the switch inside, it's malfunctioning, or somebody else needs to winch me for whatever reason. Hopefully that's never the case, but I can do this. I can still hook this up. My umbilical still works, and that's kind of the goal. So now I have 2 ways of controlling my winch. So that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Maybe got those creative juices flowing. So if you like what you see, just give me a like or share, subscribe, whatever, and we'll catch you on the next one.